Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is the newest movie in the MCU, and I'm here to talk about it, so let's get to it. After running away for so long, Shang-Chi is forced to confront the past he thought he left behind when he's pulled back into the web of the mysterious Ten Rings organization. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. In my reviews, I discuss what I liked, what I didn't like, and then my overall thoughts. So starting with what I liked about the movie, I gotta start with the fight scenes. The fight scenes in this movie in regards to hand-to-hand combat are easily some of the best fight scenes in the entire MCU, and the trailers really underplay that. There's no shaky cam, you can clearly see what's going on, the choreography is great, and you can tell that there was a lot of time and effort in making these scenes as best as they possibly could be. Now obviously we've seen hand-to-hand combat in the MCU, but not really like this. The movie definitely leans into the kung fu genre, so if you're into fight scenes like that, you're more than likely gonna like the fight scenes in this movie. The next thing I liked was the story. When it comes to origin stories in the MCU, Iron Man set the standard, but I think this movie surpassed that. And in my opinion, I think the only origin story better than this was Captain America: The First Avenger. But probably the biggest thing I liked about this movie were the characters. Simu Liu as Shang-Chi I thought was great. He had charisma, he was funny when he had to be, and just overall, he had a really good superhero presence on screen. I'm really interested in how a sequel movie would be and how he's gonna react with other Avengers. I would have really liked to have seen him meet Tony Stark and have a conversation regarding the Ten Rings, but maybe we'll get something similar to that when he crosses paths with Ant-Man, since the Ten Rings did show up in that movie too. Just generally speaking, I can't wait to see more of him in the MCU. But also, all the other actors did a good job with their characters too. Now, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce her name because I know I'm gonna butcher it, but the actress who played Shang-Chi's sister was good, and she was really an interesting character to follow. Awkwafina, on the other hand, was in charge of about 90% of the comedy in this movie, and you definitely get your money's worth with her. And I really like the character chemistry that she had with Shang-Chi too. I like how even though they were of the opposite sex, Marvel didn't feel the need to make them a couple. You totally buy into their friendship and that it's purely platonic. Maybe they might get together in the future, but keeping them as just friends through the entire movie was a really cool idea, because now you don't have to worry about that extra subplot with the whole will they, won't they back and forth. So you can just focus on the actual movie and the story that's being told. The standout for me though in this entire movie was Tony Leung as Shang-Chi's father. It's not too often that you get a villain in the MCU that's relatable and you can understand where they're coming from. Now, even though his tactics might be harsh, he has an interesting backstory, and you see that he's not just opposition for the hero to overcome. I wouldn't put him on the same level as Thanos, Killmonger, or Loki, but I'd put him on that tier right under that. The father-son dynamic and how the son really doesn't want to follow in his father's footsteps is really the heart of this movie and what pushes it forward. Now, as far as what I didn't like about the movie, the only thing negative I'd really say is that the pacing of the movie really becomes problematic at times. The movie builds and builds in the first act, but when you get to the second act, it really slows down and you just lose the momentum that you had built up for the last hour or so of the movie. And another thing that you might consider more of a nitpick than an actual negative of the movie, depending on how you look at it, is that the final fight, while good, wasn't great. The parts of the final battle that focused on the fight between Shang-Chi and his dad were great, but everything else was very formulaic and pretty much what you'd expect in an MCU movie. It's like the higher-ups at Marvel had a meeting with the director and was like, now you can pretty much do whatever you want in this movie, but in the last 20 minutes when it's time to wrap everything up, you already know how we do. Fortunately though, everything else in this movie was so good that it makes the negatives in this movie minor by comparison. So in conclusion, I like the characters, I like the story, I love the fight scenes. From a movie formula standpoint, when it comes to the MCU, it pretty much checks all the boxes. Jokes that seem forced, generic final battles, Easter eggs and references that connect back to the grander MCU. Now whether that's something you like or you don't like to varying degrees is all in this movie. All that being said, I'd say this movie is a definite add to the Blu-ray collection. So that's my review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. If you've seen it already, what did you think? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. And also, the trailers hide and leave out a lot that I didn't even know was going to be in this movie. So kudos to the marketing team for making that happen, but what that also means is that if you don't want certain things spoiled for you, you're going to have to watch this movie as soon as possible. And by now, we pretty much all know how Marvel does, so when the movie's over, make sure you stick around. There's a mid-credit and an end-credit scene that's pretty significant in how the MCU is going to move forward. Thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing, hit that thumbs up and click that subscribe button to see what's coming next.